England. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again. Hello.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say. Let's do this.
Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, call the bomb.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There'll be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DiPrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Love you. Love you.
Ever since you was a pee-wee down by my knee with a wee-wee. We been coochie cool all through school, you and me, G. Back in the days, we played practical jokes, so everybody smoked with they lopes and they yokes, so all through high school, girls by the dozens, saying we cousins, knowing that we wasn't. But like the old saying goes, time goes on and everybody grows. Grew apart, had to part, went our own ways. You chose the dope game, my microphone pays. In many ways, we were paid in the old days, so far away from the crazies with AKs. And though I've been around clowning with the underground, I'm still down with my homies from the hometown. And if you need anything at all, I drop it off for y'all if my homies call.
KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to First Things First. It's with James Farr, not Dominique, right? I'm filling in today, this morning. And Dominique will be back tomorrow. I know she misses y'all. I miss hearing her on the radio. I'm usually sitting on the other side of the desk. I've sat on this side of the desk several times. I don't even think I mentioned that I host a show here at KBLA Talk 1580. It is called The Conversation Live, Altadena Rising, and it is the show of record where we are chronicling for the nation the devastating, deadly January 2025 Altadena Eaton Canyon fire. Show airs live every Saturday at 10 a.m. and then there's a replay that you could tap into on Sundays at noon. And then, as I've told you all before, you can catch up on all the KBLA podcasts at where most of you get your podcasts. It's available there. I like to go over to the YouTube page, the station's YouTube page, and you can find all the back episodes. If you want to hear Dominique and I go at it. And, well, I don't really be going at it. You know, her arm's a little too short to box with me, but, you know, I take the lumps. But she is the queen of LA Talk Radio, and I'm extremely honored that Dominique trusted me to drive the car, so to speak. Although she did say I had to stay on the track, right? She ain't let me run out there wild. But Dominique, thank you for allowing me to share with you in this space over the time. And I know you know I'm always right and never wrong, and you just don't want to admit when you're wrong. You'll tell me when I'm right. But we'll work that out the next time we're on air. Y'all heard that Pac coming when we came forward. When they need me, the homies call. And now Miles and Dominique seem to think that I'm not a Pac fan. I'm not going to deal with that right now. That's for a different show. I'm going to stay grounded because I think what Miles was doing, it might be some sort of conspiracy going on around here. Like they were him and Dominique be trying to trigger me, right? But I won't buckle. I ain't folding, Miles. You know why? Miles, you know why?
Okay, tell me why.
Because I called my homie.
Okay.
Right? My homie, right?
Back up.
It ain't even back up, right? I just, you know, some people roll with a thing, other things, and, you know, a few things, right? But, you know, us game tight cats from the Bay, we evolve, right? We get our minds right. We get centered. We start to learn what emotional intelligence is. So I invited a friend down because I wanted to share this with y'all, right? This brother is from the deep East Oakland, right? And when I say deep, it don't get no deeper in East Oakland than where he's from. Formerly justice impacted, he at a young age found himself in some challenges and stood before the court. The judge gave him a choice: get it right, or I got something else for you. He eventually made a choice that has changed the trajectory of his life. He went from the streets into the suites, into boardrooms, and consulting and doing training and facilities with organizations and companies like Kaiser and Marriott and UC Berkeley and the county of Alameda and a whole host of other organizations. He is an emotional intelligence, and he gonna tell y'all what that means, right? That means stop acting a fool, but we'll get into that a little bit more. He's a strategist, a coach. Right now, he's helping organizations find out what their civility is inside of the organization. I've known this brother for quite some time, and I'm so honored that he found his way into the chair this morning. Brother Derek D.B. Bedford, the EI guy. What's up, my guy?
Thank you, my brother. Top of the morning,
Top
man.
of the
Yes,
morning,
yes,
man.
Sir.
Boy, you looking good.
Right on, man. Right on. Just trying to be
you look
focused.
like you eating good. You looking like you eating healthy.
I'm doing my best, man.
You still on that vegan thing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, man. Trying to optimize my being. You know what I mean, by watching what I eat. So yeah, I appreciate the acknowledgement, brother.
Yeah. Well, before we jump deep and heavy into it, right? You know, vibration and energy. I think you were one of the first people that really tapped into my frequency, right? That made me aware of my energy, right? Or we all have energy, right? And if you were listening earlier, Sahara Ali in our Mindful Monday segment was talking about being on purpose, right? And I'm seeing a theme of that today, being on purpose. So when we come forward, we're going to unpack what emotional intelligence is, right? And what it means through our cultural lens and some of the tools that you deploy and help people uncover and unpack. We're going to come forward with my man DB Bedford, the EI guy, only on KBLA Talk 1580, your ancestors' favorite radio station.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
Now at Verizon, we have some big news for your peace of mind. For all our customers, existing and new, we're locking in low prices for 3 years guaranteed on My Plan and My Home. That's future you peace of mind. And everyone can save on a brand new phone on My Plan when you trade in any phone from one of our top brands. That's new phone peace of mind. Because at Verizon, whether you're already a customer or you're just joining us, we got you. Visit Verizon today. Price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. That does give us certain advantages, for example, in focus and resources. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. If you're a guy facing divorce, remember, Cordell & Cordell, a partner you can count on.
1455 Frazee, San Diego. CordellCordell.com.
Trust and Will knows that we'll all eventually need a will. How about right now? Trust and Will makes creating your will easy, like while you're lounging on the couch easy. Trust and Will is designed by attorneys but customized by you, and all documents are state-specific and secure. Find your plan at trustandwill.com and use offer code RADIO now for 20% off. That's trustandwill.com, offer code RADIO. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. Visit trustandwill.com for details.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Perhaps I was addicted to the dark side. Somewhere inside my childhood when this my heart died. And even though we both came from the same places, the money and the fame made us all change places. How could it be through the misery that came to pass? The hard times make a true friend afraid to ask for currency, but you can run to me when you need, and I never leave. Honestly, someone to believe in. As you can see, it's a small thing to a truth. What could I do? Real homies help you get through. And coming new, he do the same thing if he could. Cause in the hood, true homies make you feel good. And half the times we be acting up, call the cops, bringing a cease to the peace that was on my block. It never stops when my mama asks me, will I change? I tell her, yeah, but it's clear I'll always be the same until the end of time.
KBLA Talk 1580. First things first. I'm James Farr. I'm sitting in this morning for Dominique DiPrima. The Queen is taking a day. She will be back tomorrow. I know y'all miss her. I miss her too. Like, I'm used to listening and not so much participating, right? But we was talking about that Pac stuff, and you know, I know my man. First of all, DB Bedford is in the seat, and he is an emotional intelligence. I'm gonna call him expert, right? Strategist, like he's subject expert. Yeah, like he really do this, right? And I'm starting to think now that there was some kind of conspiracy. You ain't never met Mile, but y'all energy is on the same frequency, right? And y'all gonna play some repurposed Pac, you know, some Pac, old Pac, you know what I mean? Pac. Anyway, so y'all not gonna throw me off of my thing, brother. I'm sorry, DB. Well, good morning. What is emotional intelligence? Because I know some people have heard of it and may not completely understand.
Not top of the morning, bro. Yeah, so emotional intelligence is in its simplest form. Is just being intentional about, you know, managing your own behavior and then being able to respond to others' behaviors. Essentially, that's what it is.
What does that mean? Because I mean, you see, I told y'all DB does training with corporations,
Absolutely.
Right? So I'm gonna need you to code switch for me. What is it? Because I hear you saying don't act the fool when somebody.
I mean, you know, yes, right. Okay. But also, you know, the thing that most people are not honest about is how they show up every single day. And people are not really intentional about, doing a little bit of a self-check. Cube used to say, what? You got to check yourself before you wreck yourself, right?
That's right.
And so, but what does that really mean? What does it look like? And so one of the things that folks should pay more attention to is their moods before they enter a space, enter a conversation, their attitude, right? And then the energy that they bring. And so those three by themselves have impact on how conversations land.
But what if you just that person that's always in a funky mood?
Yeah,
right?
you're the one I'm talking to. You're the one I'm talking about. This conversation is for you. You're in the right place. If you have landed on the right channel.
Kind of like how said in Kings of Comedy. I wish what I mean. Like you exist in the world or in the space. Because I learned conflict isn't bad, right? Conflict is just finding a compromise, right? But some people live for the conflict.
Well, that's only because they lack self-awareness. That's what I was just mentioning. Those key elements is a lack of self-awareness. But I will say this, and I will stand on this. Most people are like that till they meet someone like them, right? So when you meet you, then the game changes, right? When you get the right one today. Most people are allowed to behave like that, so they keep reinforcing the behavior because people don't know how to articulate themselves and step to them in a way to let them know that that is not okay. So everybody said they go silent. They don't say anything. And so this person, whoever they are, they think that is the way to get things done until they meet someone.
So what you're saying is basically they what is it? F-A.
Mess around and find out.
Yeah, mess around.
Yeah, right. And it doesn't have to be in a violent way, right? You can just meet someone who just doesn't tolerate that.
Right.
And if you get in rhythm of behaving and handling situations like that, well, when you're in a situation that you want to be favorable for you, but you haven't checked that type of behavior, you end up missing opportunities. It impacts your job, impacts your relationships, it impacts your, the way you make decisions. And so it ends up coming back to you in a way that you probably are not going to be proud of.
Let me roll it back, right? Now that you've brought the class up to speed, right, on what emotional intelligence is, right? I talked about before we came forward, right? You were justice impacted, right? We are products of the 80s, early 90s. There was a lot of things happening in community, right?
For sure.
There were a lot of economies in community, right?
For sure.
There were a lot of things that, we used to say cats was getting Buck Rogers dates, right? They was catching cases and launching, right, with lineman numbers.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
You were facing a situation, right? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so back in the 90s, like early, mid-90s, being from Oakland, growing up in East Oakland in an area called Brookfield, being a product of my environment, I was taught to make decisions and handle conflict with violence at the end of the day. And I found myself in a situation where I didn't like the way someone handled a situation, and I felt like I gave him an opportunity to correct it. And when he didn't correct it, then my immediate response was what I was always conditioned to do, is to cause harm. And so I intentionally caused harm to someone that had got me locked up for a period of time. And I was facing about 8 years in prison, but I was given opportunity, within the system by Judge Larry Goodman, who had a program going on inside of his courtroom at the time. And he just seen some value in me that I didn't really see in myself, and gave me opportunity at the end of the day to leverage the influence that I had in the streets. He encouraged me to use that same influence inside amongst my peers to help move forward in a better way. He actually said to me, he felt like I had superpowers, but I was using them for evil.
Well, because I want to get to the work that you did, right? While you were in that justice impacted space, right? What was it that you realized, right? And we don't want to get into specific details, any of that stuff, right? But there was something that happened, right? That I think everybody at some point confronts. Like, what did this person, you said he had a chance to, he didn't correct it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if or I don't even know if you knew he needed to correct it, right? But what was happening for you at that moment that made you respond the way that you did?
I felt disrespected. And back then,
but were you disrespected, or was that a story you told yourself?
It was exactly this. That's why I said I felt it. Right. It's a story I told myself. It was how I perceived disrespect, when really it was just someone who just didn't. Cause like today, if I call out a plumber to do to do some work, and they don't finish the work, well, I'm gonna leave a bad Google review, and I'm not gonna use them again. Right, but back then, that's not the way you handle things. So right,
no Yelp.
I told myself, my money, you playing with my money, you playing with my time, you making me look bad. So the narrative I gave myself equated to I had to check him, I had to let him know that I'm not the one, and that was just a mentality that I had adapted at that time with the lack of emotional intelligence. So I allowed my emotions to overpower my intelligence, because I was way smarter than that. But emotions are so strong that they will hijack your intellect. And so the reason why we teach emotional intelligence, because good people miss opportunities and fumble situations because their emotions overpower their intelligence.
So now you caught a case, right? And Judge Wilson, Stanley Goodman, Judge Goodman, who has a good, a reputation in the Bay. Like, he don't really play. He was issuing them. He was launching people, right? Yeah. What did he see in you? What did that look like?
Well, he said my influence. So I wasn't just my MO in the streets wasn't leading with gangsterism. I was a hustler, you know what I mean, and really community driven before I realized what it was. We put on these big flatland picnics every year, and the spot where I hung out at, we always invited people from all over Oakland to hang out with us while we did our thing. And so it was the influence that he's seen of support that came to court for me consistently that raised his eyebrow, because normally when people go to court, maybe first, second, third court date, but by the fourth or fifth court date, you're usually in there by yourself, you know what I mean, or one person. But every court date I had a level of support that was noticeable. And so it triggered him to think that there must be more to me than just, what they were saying I did on paper.
And then what did he do?
So he had a program, it was called the Crossroads Mentoring Program at the time, and he thought that it would be a good idea. He thought I could benefit from the program, but most importantly, he thought that the people that were already in the program could benefit from me. And so it was the first time that somebody looked at me in a way and said, no, this what you are doing is beneficial to others. They say it's hard to see the picture when you sit inside the frame. And so I could never see that in myself. And so he was able to shine the light on some of these blind spots. And the first time I ever helped somebody, God gave them some guidance from my insights, and then they utilized it. And to see the joy or relief from them doing it, it was just a new shot of dopamine, if you will. It's like once I seen that and felt that, I just couldn't give it up. So I became addicted to helping people.
So it wasn't like you said that most people show up a certain way until they meet somebody with that same energy, right? That didn't happen for you. It was like, or was it you just realized that something?
Well, I think for me, I never. My goal in the streets was never to stay there. I was never that type of person. I was always optimistic about. I was raised that you use the streets as a stepping stone to get in and get out. I mean, and so I always knew I would be out the game. I didn't know how. My turning point was just being in Santa Rita, realizing that I just didn't have to do that. But in the moment when the situation happened, I feel like it was the only thing to do. And that's when I realized, I didn't know it then, but I know now that you don't ever want to let your emotions overpower your intelligence. I realized that when emotions are high, your logic is the lowest.
Say that again, brother.
When, and it's a formula that people, if you don't believe me, just test it. Like when your emotions are high, you are not going to be the best version of yourself. You're not going to say the smartest thing. You're not going to be as patient. You're not going to process things because emotions will hijack you. And so I realized in that moment, because I'm sitting in this cell and I could think of all the other things I could have done, all right, after the situation, but I was in a logical state. I was calm. I wasn't mad anymore, and I had all the reasonable options not to do, and that stuck with me. I didn't know it would turn into something, but I know. So the turning point for me was realizing that I cannot afford to let that level of rage, that level of decision making at that level be my destruction. I was not going to let it be my destiny, and so I was in there so unnecessarily. I was doing so well in the streets. I did not have to jeopardize my freedom, my family, the people who was counting on me, all in a moment, a micro moment in time where I allowed, you know what I mean, my emotions, I got emotionally hijacked, and that's unhealthy. And so it became my mission to make sure other people don't.
So you were slipping in a street sense,
absolutely,
right?
You
let your guard down, right, in a way that made you vulnerable to a situation. And I'm not sure, DB, if I read it in your book, because DB is also an author, right? I Never Worry. I'm not sure if I read it in your book or if I saw something that you posted on social media, right? One of your kind of mini quips and quotes, and because you're a very transparent person, right? You'll talk about how on social media how you found yourself even to this day, and we talking about what 20-something years,
for sure.
30, right? Since the person we've talked to earlier that you're describing, you still find yourself practicing, like you're really more of a practitioner.
Absolutely.
Of emotional intelligence. But you said something, I don't know if you said it, wrote it, to stop looking outside the window.
Oh, yeah.
And look in the mirror.
Yeah. People spend so much time looking out the window instead of looking in the mirror. We're just good at just looking at what everybody else is doing and critiquing what everybody else is doing, but we don't spend any time on our role in it. And that's why self-awareness is like the cornerstone principle of emotional intelligence. It all starts with you. And yes, I'm definitely a practitioner. I've been practicing emotional intelligence this entire trip down here to come see you, since from the airport to people blocking my car, parking too close to my car, to rude people at restaurants. Like I've been on a journey. Everywhere you go, you have to be intentional about your behavior. And that's what we're doing. We're just trying to help adults be responsible with their behavior. Well,
we coming up hard on news and traffic, and I'm going to continue this conversation because we getting somewhere, y'all. I think about DB. I was so proud one time to call him because I had a travel experience that I think would have just shook most people, right? And I through some of the things I've read and heard from you, was able to sit with it. So we're going to pick up the rest of this conversation when we come forward. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, First Things First.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries warns that Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill could slash Medicaid funding, risking coverage for millions.
You know, the GOP tax scam is not one big beautiful bill. It's one big ugly bill that will hurt everyday Americans, hurt everyday New Yorkers.
Speaking in Brooklyn, Jeffries urged the Senate to reject the bill, which Trump says targets waste and fraud. A vote is expected this week. Opal Lee, the 98-year-old grandmother of Juneteenth, is recovering after being hospitalized in Ohio while accepting an award. Her family says she's in good spirits and hopes to return home to Texas soon, just in time to kick off her annual Walk of Freedom on June 19th. And the Atlantic hurricane season is underway. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says it expects between 13 and 19 named storms this year, and that up to 10 of them could become hurricanes. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Pan comido or a piece of cake, no matter how you say it, you save at cheapoair.com/ES. The deals are fully translated in Spanish, so all you've got to do is scroll and save, with deals on up to 500 airlines worldwide. cheapoair.com/ES.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A tough day for LA's major sports teams on Sunday. The only team to get a win was UCLA's baseball team. They beat UC Irvine 8-5 in the NCAA baseball tournament. UCLA advances to the Super Regional. They're only 2 wins away from the World Series in Omaha. UCLA's women's softball team was eliminated Sunday from the World Series in Oklahoma City. They lost to Tennessee 5-4 on a walk-off single in the 9th inning. UCLA finished an impressive season at 55-13. The LA Sparks lost at home to Phoenix 85-80. Third straight loss for the Sparks in the WNBA. The Dodgers and Angels wrapped up the weekend with losses. The Yankees beat the Dodgers 7-3 to avoid a sweep. The Dodgers outscored the Yankees 29-14 in their 3-game series. The Angels fell 6 games below 500 after losing 4-2 at Cleveland. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
During this time, it's important for everyone to know your rights. The 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments in the U.S. Constitution protects every one of us, regardless of immigration status. The 4th Amendment requires a judicial warrant to search your home. The 5th protects your right to remain silent. And the 6th gives you the right to an attorney. Just remember,
no warrant, no key. My privacy. You don't have to speak. No lawyer inside. Don't say a thing. Yeah, we all got rights.
Hey, we all got rights.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD. But did you know that Black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? You may be able to reduce your risk by managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure, being physically active, eating healthy, and exercising your mind. To learn more about AD, the importance of early diagnosis and intervention, and a potential treatment option, visit treatalzearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED because millions of men experience it, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. HIMS can help. Through HIMS.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to HIMS.com/joy. HIMS.com/JOY.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio. KBLA Talk 1580.
I should die before I wait. Please, God, walk. Grab it and take me to heaven. Back in elementary, I thrived on misery. Left me alone, I grew up amongst a dying breed. Inside my mind, couldn't find a place to rest until I got that Doug like tatted on my chest. Tell me, can you feel me? I'm not living in the past. You wanna last? Be the first to blast. Remember Cato? No longer with us, eat the seats. Call on the sirens. Seen them murdered in the streets. Now rest in peace. Is there heaven for a G? Remember me? So many homies in the cemetery shed so many tears. I suffered through the years and shed so many tears.
KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to First Things First. I'm James Farr. I'm subbing in this morning for Dominique DiPrima. Have you guys been listening, delegation, to the promotions on the station? Our KBLA Talk 1580 4th anniversary. It's approaching real fast, and seating for all 4 events are really tight. So if you haven't gone to the KBLA.com website, I want you to stop right now, log on, go over to the website, and register for one of those 4 events. If you're planning on joining us on the 4th anniversary celebration and backyard barbecue on June 19th, the actual holiday, right, June 19th, we're asking that everyone bring a food gift card of any amount for the survivors of the Altadena Eaton Canyon fire. But again, the events are filling up fast. Our anniversary events are all free, but seating is limited. You need to go over to the website right now and make sure you register. I'm definitely going to be in the building. Y'all see this KBLA merch I got on? You can go visit the KBLA website and pick up some. We got some pretty fly merch, and I firmly believe that black media is a resistance. And yes, this is my uniform, and no, I didn't sleep in it. And yes, you will see me rock it in it again, because some people put an S on their chest. I got a whole statement. You dig? All right. My guest is Derek D.B. Bedford. He's the emotional intelligence subject expert, practitioner. Right?
I like that.
You like that? You're a practitioner?
All day, every day.
You're in practice all day, every day. I we're talking about what emotional intelligence is, right? And I came across some stuff. Like I said, I'm a student. And I pack on my tool belt, right? A little EI, right? Emotional intelligence. It goes a long ways, right? But I heard you also say, hey, I shouldn't have to set myself on fire to make you feel warm.
Yeah. Yes,
I'm not going to pull the pin in the grenade because you want to see a firecracker, right?
Yes,
Where'd that come from?
I read and listen. I picked it up somewhere. I don't even know where. I can't even source it. But as soon as I heard it, just became part of something I share with people, because it's a good analogy. Because a lot of times we do things on behalf of others, but it doesn't make us feel good inside. We make commitments to things that are not necessarily what we would do. And it's like if you've ever been invited somewhere to something and then you really didn't want to go, but you kind of told your folks that you would go. And you think about how you feel all the way up until it's time to go. Like you probably looking for a way out. You kind of, and then even if you go there, you don't, you didn't really want to be there. So you're not even bringing your best version of yourself, but you only committed because you didn't want to make the other person feel bad. You didn't want to make them feel like you were rejecting them. And so not setting yourself on fire to keep other people's warm. It's just something to filter in as you're making your decision making.
See, I'm different. My yes is yes and my no is no, bro. Yeah. If I don't want to go, I'm going to tell you no.
Yeah.
I may surprise you and call you back and say, hey, is it cool? Can I still come?
Right.
But so I think that is a form of being emotionally intelligent, right? I'm not going to jaws you or just kind of, hey, man, I'm going to come through. Yeah, I'm a try. Like I'm not a try person.
Right.
I'm going to get it done. You doing work with corporations, right?
Yeah.
Most people are in structured organizations in their jobs, whether they're in a high rise, whether they're in a strip mall, plaza, corporate campus type environment, cubicle or something. Toxicity in work, right?
Yeah, being uncivil.
Being uncivil, right? And then when you kind of conflate that with like Trump or the taking away of DEI or even the Diddy case, right? Like people can lose their mind. What are you doing in that space with organizations? What does EI look like at work, right?
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't cuss your boss out. I don't know how that will work out for you, but what does that look like in that space?
Yeah, well, first I want to go back to what you just said. You was like, you feel like that's emotional intelligence by being able to make a decision of what you should and should not do, which is true, but you also want to factor in how you say it too, right? So emotional intelligence is not just about us, it's also about being conscious of our delivery and how it would impact somebody else too.
But I thought I'm not responsible for how it lands. Right.
But you are responsible for how you say it. You know what I mean? You are responsible for how you say it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And if you practice emotional intelligence, you should be intentional, understanding that people receive things differently, right? And so for another person just like you could say no, they accept it. But somebody who has a different type of personality style, they may need it a different way for it to be said, for it to be received well. But we'll unpack that at another conversation.
It goes right into the workspace, right? Because people, you may be real soft on the street, right? I'm gonna try to say it nicely, right? But at work, you're really important, and you're that a-hole manager, right? You're that nagging supervisor, right? How does that EI kind of stuff work in that space, in civility?
Yeah. So when we talk about incivility, so let's define incivility,
please.
So incivility is known and recognized as a noun, but we like to position it as a verb, and it's basically to dismiss, to be dismissive, be disrespectful, be discourteous, right? And subtle.
Give me an example, because I mean you in there with some major corporations. Like, what are the stories that y'all role play? Like, what are you hearing?
Well, no,
how does that show up?
Well, it's just, it's the way people treat each other, right? It's not something that's super hard to wrap your head around. It's rude and disrespectful behavior. Mm-hmm. It's being cynical and sarcastic, right? It's, creating conflict instead of trying to solve it, right? It's gossiping, it's judging too quickly. All of these behaviors and characteristics that people bring into a shared space, right? And so people bring these personalities, these behaviors, these attitudes into the space, into the workspace, and expect it to get done fluently, not realizing that, James, if you and I are working together, we on this show every single day, but if if we walked into the door this morning at the same time, and you walked in right before me and let it close in front of me, right? I'm gonna think about that. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna have a thought about that. Or if I say good morning to you and you don't necessarily say it back. I mean, there's a lot of little subtle things that people don't pay attention to, but they have a huge impact because we're human. So people start taking things in, and it's easy to be like, I ain't tripping, I don't care, I'm not responsible for other people. But if you're gonna coexist as a team, as a shared space, you should be concerned how that impacts person. And then it's also that person's responsibility, right, not to over exaggerate and be responsible with the things. But if you say something that I don't necessarily doesn't make me feel good, if I share that with you, that should matter, and we should be able to come to a mutual way of communicating with each other and vice versa. And that's what people have gotten away from. And so they're just very task driven. I like to say in today's time, folks are focused on being human doings instead of human beings.
But I mean, I read somewhere, and probably trolling your stuff, and because I told you I'm paying attention. I learned. I think I'm a better person. Right?
Well, then my work's done here.
But I read, learned, experienced that it is healthy to feel. It's unhealthy to stay emoting, right? So how does somebody find that balance, right? Because sometimes stuff pisses you off.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And am I dishonoring either the disrespect or how I feel, right? I get my actions. Is it cool for me to feel for the moment?
Yes, emotional intelligence is not about trying to live this warm and fuzzy lifestyle. That's not what we're saying. If you're mad, be mad. If you're depressed, be depressed. If you're frustrated, be frustrated. But you just don't want to stay there. You want to recognize, my brother, brought this up a little while ago. He says you need to name it so you can navigate it, right? You need to know what you're feeling so that you can have a conversation about it. I could be pissed off with you right now, James, and still talk to you like this. I don't got to yell. I ain't got to call you out your name. I ain't got to stand up and give you idle threats. I can just say, bro, that didn't sit right with me. And you can be like, well, what do you mean? Oh, that's because X, Y, and Z. And we'll get much farther, right? Because a lot of times if I'm frustrated about something, I want to communicate that to you. But if I communicate it loud, if I communicate it, if I'm not paying attention to my tone, tact, and timing of delivering the message, you're not going to hear me anyway, which is going to amplify the frustration. So practicing emotional intelligence is a communication tool. It's a mental health tool. It's an emotional health tool. It's a way for us to engage, right, in the inevitable. We're going to have conflict. We're going to have disagreements. You're going to run into moments that you don't like. or people you don't like, things you don't understand, things you don't agree with, it's going to happen. If you feel a certain kind of way, that's fine. But I think that we all should stand on the fact that you are responsible for how you behave, no matter how you feel.
Well, we definitely are, you know, and when we come forward, because I want to get to something else, right? Because in this contemporary, like our grandparents and parents didn't have a language, perhaps the tools, and had to digest a lot of indecency, as Professor Jody Armour writes in the N-word theory, right? You got to stomach some of this stuff from these white folks, right?
Yeah, for sure.
When we come forward, I want to know how EI keeps you from doing the fool on the fool.
Yeah, for sure.
Who acts a fool. Only on KBLA Talk 1580, your ancestors' favorite radio station.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least like to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Hi, I'm LA City Councilman Kern Price, inviting you to join us on Saturday, June the 14th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. as we cut the ribbon on the brand new Enel Woods Park at 8703 South McKinley Avenue. Thanks to a generous donation from Heal the Bay, the park features smart irrigation, stormwater capture systems, and space for local wildlife to thrive. And we've built a walking trail, picnic areas, native landscaping, and quiet spaces for families to gather, relax, and connect. This is part of a much larger effort to expand green spaces across South LA with 3 new parks in the works, a first-of-its-kind community center coming soon, and plans to connect it all through the South LA Greenway. So mark your calendar for Saturday, June 14th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and come celebrate a greener, stronger South LA at Enel Woods Park. I'm also pleased to sponsor the Climate Justice plus Black Health Symposium, moderated by Tavis Smiley, live on C-SPAN, Wednesday, June the 18th, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. Just a reminder to sign up right away at the KBLA1580.com website to join me, Mayor Karen Bass, Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager Dove, Tennessee State Representative Justin Pearson, Dr. Cornel West, former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., the Sierra Club's Ben Jealous, and other black influencers in the climate and health fields as we continue to amplify the connection between climate and poor health outcomes for our people. Thank you for listening. I'm Councilman Kern Price.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds. Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
Something while I put my helmet strap, I'm smoking purpose, sipping yak. Inhale out, I'm priming team miss, causing asthma attacks. Hitting niggas, taking early phase, got back to direct the scene. Shoot 'em with cannon, so how you gonna act? Blatant, sizzling. In that cutter, look for doing my business. Ooin', drinking, throwing up the hully. Solo, but on the low, my butt. Doing hella. At one time, my definition of hyphy, man, is isn't. I'm in the building and I'm feeling like yee. R.I.P. to the Mac, the R.E. So don't stop. Keep it going. Some privilege in the back, blowing. Hold it down for the Bay, reppin' Oakland. If it wasn't for that granddaddy smoking, that's what I mean for sure. Know what I mean for sheets. Know what I mean for sure. Know what I mean for sheets.
I don't put that on my word. That's right. KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to First Things First. I'm James Farr, and I'm subbing in today for Dominique DiPrima. I have my man Derek D.B. Bedford from the Bay, from Oakland, in the building, and he's an EI, and EI, for y'all just catching up with us, is emotional intelligence practitioner, and he has taken an older concept and really made it, culturally relevant, right? He speaks a language that, hey, bruh, that's foul, right? Right. And it makes us understand. DB, what are you doing now? What's the EI 360? And kind of talk to me about these other things that you're doing and how people can connect with you.
No, I appreciate it. So EI 365 basically is our agency that represents emotional intelligence all day, every day. We have a hyper focus on workplace incivility, basically understanding that there are situations in work environments that become uncivil with people's subtle and overt behaviors. So we're teaching leaders and their teams just how to remain civil in uncivil situations based on what we were talking about earlier, just like things are going to happen, but just because it happens doesn't mean we have to escalate it. And so that's what we kind of focus on, and we use our tool called the Civility Index, right? civilityindex.com is where leaders can go and get what we like to call the emotional climate of their team. And it's just
unpack that for me real quick. What does that mean?
So it's an opportunity for you to take a look at the behaviors that you might observe. So we've identified the top behaviors that happen in workplaces. And so this assessment or this index is 21 behavior-based questions of what a leader or someone might observe in their workplace. And based on how much they see it, they get a results back that tells them their emotional climate, if you will, the conditions of what they may be working in. And then EI 365 provides the solution through emotional intelligence programming.
So is it intended to inform the person?
Yes.
That's that mirror thing that you were talking about earlier? Okay. Right, so now they look it in the mirror and they see. Now, are they...
Well, not just at themselves, but also the team that they're leading.
Got you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But, I'm one of them people, I may come in fast and hard, right? Mm-hmm. Especially in this kind of environment, and I've been told, I'm high functioning or, task driven, and know what I want, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't always communicate.
Yeah.
So how does it take that kind of personality type in the workspace? Because I think I'm cool, right? I think I'm easy to get along with. I think people who are like me appreciate somebody just straight up telling them yes, no, that's foul, that's whack, I didn't like that.
And you're right, but there's other people that's not like you. Right, so yes, the people like you.
Well, that's the problem.
Yeah, right. I mean, and that's the emotional. That's having situational awareness.
Situational awareness.
Yeah, to just understand the communication styles also of people that you're around. So yes, that is a great quality and characteristics to have, but it's not the only one to have. And so that's where we're helping people kind of understand. If you want to be productive, you want to optimize your work environment, you want to make sure that you are conscious and intentional of how you're communicating with each other. I'm not saying walk on eggshells. I'm not saying be who you are, but also understanding the impact. Just like you said, you think you cool, but everybody might not think that's cool. You know what I mean? And if you don't...
Well, they don't know cool.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? And that's fine as long as you don't got to work together. You know what I'm saying? But if you got to spend some time together, then that warrants a new conversation, But there's impacts and there's cost of not addressing it. So we go through work environments helping teams and their leaders or leaders in their teams just create a common language, what we call the EI Code of Conduct, right? Which is a kind of a behavior by design system that's rooted in our 11 self-operating principles. So it's not just this open-ended conversation. It's really dialed down into here are 11 principles that you and your team can govern yourselves by when those tough moments happen, when those difficult conversations are need to be had, or when people are struggling processing was being handed down. They have something they can go to help neutralize, the actions that might come from getting emotionally hijacked in a moment.
Well, I don't want to have you give up the sauce, right? The recipe to the sauce. You know, I mean, you do this. Like when I say he do this, not only does he do this, I've seen him do it. I know people that have hired him to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I see the organizations that he does it with. So he's not just here bumping his gums. What are give me 3 things that, without giving away the secret, right? And I think you would give it away because you care about community and people, right? But what are 3 things somebody can do right now, just individually, to kind of check their own climate, right? Check their own temperature.
Well, I mean, if you're a leader, I say anybody can go to civilityindex.com and just start getting familiar with the common behaviors. But if you're listening, you're like, how do I start with my emotional intelligence? I would say start by taking a purposeful pause is one of our core principles, which means just being intentional about putting space in between your responses. And the reason why you would do that, because I want you to believe that when emotions are high, logic is the lowest. So anytime you feel charged about something, I want you to be intentional about putting that space and allowing your emotions to come down just a tad bit. And as the emotions are coming down, your wisdom will come up. So I would say that's probably the number 1 thing. And then, that's number 2. And number 1 is just be self-aware. Just really always know what your mood, your attitude, and your energy is in any given moment. And then the third one, I'll throw a random one out here, something we like to call energy transitions. So also understand that there are a series of micro experiences that you have throughout the day. And when you move from one place to the next, I want you to be mindful of your last experience that you're carrying into the next experience. So just like when I came here to the show this morning, whatever I was doing beforehand, I had to make sure I clear that before I come into this space so I could be
Is that what they call like self-regulating?
But I'm not sure if I've never heard it used in that context, but I'm sure it would fit. When we say energy transitions, we just know that whatever I was doing before, however I was feeling before I got here, I want to recalibrate myself so that when I come here, I give you the latest version of myself, because that's what people that give you their time deserve.
You heard it right here, Derek D.B. Bedford. The EI guy. I mean, you got many handles, but how can people get in touch with you real quick? I'm hard on this clock.
EIconduct.com.
EIconduct.com. I didn't get a chance to get my question answered on how to deal with the kind of racial things that come in folks, right? Yeah. But I'll talk to you about that offline. Folks, this is my secret weapon. You know, I show up and I'm able to interview a district attorney. I'm able to interview a police chief. I'm able to talk in spaces, and even with people that I'm, adversarial with, right? It's because and this is just a personal reflection and really a thank you, brother, because I've learned so much from you, and I think so many more people can learn from you, and we just would be a more harmonious community. Tavis Smiley is up next, y'all. I just looked at his lineup, and I'm like, my God, he has an amazing show ahead of you. He's going to interrogate and get all into it. I'm James Farr. It's been such a pleasure to sit in for Dominique DiPrima on First Things First. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, your ancestors' favorite radio station.